In this video, we're going to build a decentralized application in under 10 minutes. This will be a simple counter application that anyone can interact with. Anyone can go ahead and add to the counter. So let's get started. If you're new here, make sure to subscribe for more videos about decentralized applications and the technologies that run them, including the Near protocol. The app we're going to build today is very similar to the first video in this series. In that video, we looked at a pre-built counter application and analyzed how it works. If you haven't watched that video yet, I highly recommend you check it out next. We'll be using the same front end as the previous video, which means you will all be able to focus on the important parts. Deploying your code to the blockchain and understanding how to interact with your users. We'll start by initializing a new project. You can do this by running near init from your terminal. This will create a new folder called myCounter, and inside of it there will be a file called cargo.toml. This file describes our project to the build tools. More specifically, it uses a tool called Cargo. The first thing we need to do is add a heading with the name of our project. We can open up cargo.toml and change this line to reflect the name of our project. Next, we need to add a package. A package is simply a collection of code that can be shared between projects. In this case, we'll be using a package called near-SDK. We can install this package by running cargo add near-SDK. Now we need to actually write some code. Create a new file called lib.rs inside of the src folder. Now open up lib.rs, and we'll start by importing the necessary modules. Notice how this code looks very similar to regular Rust. That's because the near SDK is built on top of Rust. It allows us to easily write code that can run on the blockchain. Next, we'll define a contract. Every decentralized application is made up of one or more contracts. A contract is essentially a smart contract. In this example, we'll only have one contract, and we'll call it counter. Inside of the contract, we'll define a variable called count. This variable will store the current count. Since this is a decentralized application, we want to make sure that this data is stored on the blockchain. We can do this by storing it in a persistent storage. Persistent storage is storage that is stored on the blockchain and can only be modified through a function. Next, we'll define a function called init. This function will be called once when the contract is deployed to the blockchain. We can use the storage keyword to modify the persistent storage. In this case, we'll set the initial count to 0. Now we need to define a function that allows the user to interact with the contract. We'll call this function increment. This function doesn't take any arguments, and it returns the new count. Inside of the function, we can access the persistent storage and modify the count. Congratulations! You just built a decentralized application. Let's deploy your application to the blockchain. Run cargo build, release. This will compile your Rust code into WebAssembly, and we can deploy it using the near CLI. Make sure you have the near CLI installed, and then run near deploy. This will prompt you to connect your wallet. After you finish, your application should be deployed and you can interact with it like any other decentralized application. This has been an introduction to building decentralized applications on the Near protocol. If you want to learn more about the Near protocol, check out the links below. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next one.